The why was born out of pain. It was never an academic or commercial exercise. It was born out of a time in my life many years ago, 10 years ago, where I had lost my passion for what I was doing. I owned my own small business. I was living the American dream. Superficially, my life was fantastic. And yet, I didn't want to wake up and do it again. And I was embarrassed by that. You know, who am I to complain about my life? My life seemed perfect, and yet I hated it. And so I kept it to myself. Every ounce of my being, all the energy that I had was invested in pretending that I was happier, more successful, and more in control than I felt. And it was debilitating, quite frankly. Strange things start to happen when you put yourself in that cycle and the stress starts to build. You start to become paranoid. So for example, I was convinced that my employees hated me. I didn't go out much, and it was really a bad time. And it wasn't until a friend of mine came to me concerned that I wasn't acting myself and basically offered me nothing more than moral support. Whatever you need, I got your back, I'm worried about you. And it was that simple act that gave me the courage to face my own problem. And it was that simple act that gave me the courage to seek out a solution, to go back to the way I used to feel, to be passionate about something again. There was a confluence of events, and I made this discovery that every single organization on the planet, even our own careers, always function on the same three levels: what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And it was based on the biology of human decision making. It wasn't some highfalutin management theory. It was based on brain stuff. And I realized I knew what I did and was good at it. And I knew how I did it. I could tell you what was different or special about the way I did things, but I couldn't tell you why I was doing it. That was the missing piece. You have to have all three. I became obsessed with this thing called the why. I figured out how to find my why, and it restored my passion to levels I had never experienced before. And more importantly, I figured out how to help others find theirs. And I did what anyone would do. When you discover something beautiful, you share it with your friends. And my friends started making crazy life changes themselves. And they started finding happiness and passion that they'd never experienced before. It was me solving my own problem that happened to help others solve it for them too. And people just kept inviting me, and I just kept saying yes. I was making huge decisions that were really easy to make. Like I shut down my office and started over again because I realized the business I had built was so inconsistent with my why. All my friends thought I went out of business and they were worried about me. It was the easiest decision I ever made. In other words, when you know your why, the filter is clear. It's not like there are options. The option is obvious. There's only one option. Share, give, inspire.
Some people ask, what is the right age to learn your why? There's no right age to learn your why. Your why is fully formed by the time you're about 18, 19, 20, fully formed. And so any time after that, you can find it out for your whole life. And the longer life you've lived, you just have more data points, you have more information to look at to find patterns. And so people want to know if they can help their teenagers find their why. And the answer is, of course you can. Especially for somebody who's a little younger, where their why is still forming. I mean, the odds are, and again, I don't know the science, I just know from talking to people and from experience, but maybe the why forms a little younger. Is fully formed a little younger. So absolutely you can talk to your kids and find out what drives them and when they've been happy. And most importantly is actually pay attention to when your kids are inspired and when they're happy, and encourage that behavior, encourage them to do more of that. Because the clearer they are of their why and the things that drive them and have support, they will build confidence for those things in their life, and that will actually set them on a very, very good path going forwards. Most of us, unfortunately, are not given that opportunity. We're often just told, get a job, or do well at school, or study harder, and then by the time we're 30 or 40 or 50 years old, we wake up and realize that we've worked hard, we've gotten good grades, and we've got a job, and yet we don't know who we are or what drives us. So really a great parent, what they do will help push a child, push someone, a student, if you're a mentor or a teacher to someone, in the direction that naturally drives them early, and that why will become loud and clear to them at a much, much earlier age. One of the most difficult questions we ever get asked is, what do you do? And we usually tell people what we do. I'm a manager at, some widget company, and nobody really cares, because nobody cares what you do. And so we're supposed to answer the question with why we do what we do. And that just takes practice, again. So let me give you a couple of examples of how it worked. I found myself at a meeting once. It was actually a social event held at an organization, and I was talking to one of the guys and telling him about the stuff that I do, and he says, "You've got to tell the boss." And I said, "Okay." And so he walks me over to the big guy, and he doesn't even make an introduction. He just leaves me standing there and walks away. And the guy turns to me and goes, "Who are you?" Now, if I wasn't starting with why, I'd say, "Hi, my name is Simon, and I have a consultancy, and I speak and I teach, and I'm an author, and I go through all the things that I've done and all the people I've worked with, and maybe some of my clients, all in an attempt to tell him who I am and why he should listen to me." But then he would have just sort of pointed to the chips and said, "Nice to meet you," But I didn't say that. I looked in the eye and I said, "I wake up every single day to inspire people to do what inspires them. And I know that your company is trying to increase the amount of customers it's getting in one particular sector. And the question is, are you inspiring people to do it? Because the only way people will give you loyalty is if you inspire them to do so. I teach leaders and organizations how to inspire people." And that's all I said. I didn't tell him what I did. I didn't tell him who I knew. I didn't tell him any of my clients. And he said to me, he looks over to me and says, "Do you have a business card?" And I handed them a business card, and I told them all the details later. Don't forget, a why doesn't close the deal. It just opens it. It allows people in. It gives context. All of these things need to work together. Why you do what you do, how you do things, and what you do. I don't for 1 second believe the why is more important than any of the other pieces. It's just the place we have to start, and it's also the place we so often forget to even include. So learning to start with why really is, especially in a business context, when you're interviewing for a job or pitching your services to someone, it really is remarkable. I get so many letters from people, all excited that they went into a pitch or they went into a job interview and they started with why, and they were so excited that not only did they get the job, but the person who hired them actually said, "We love ... and they repeat their why back to them. They don't talk about their qualifications or any of these things. In other words, it really does drive human behavior. And the more you get good at it, the more you start to feel and see the results of starting with why. People often say that they think they have their why. Well, more than that, that they feel it, that it feels right, and they know they're in the ballpark, but they're struggling to find the words. That's okay. The most important part about this why process is that indeed it feels right. Remember, the why exists in the part of the brain, the limbic brain, that controls our feelings. It also controls all our behavior and decision making. And so we don't want to think that it's right. We want to feel that it's right. And once you have that gut decision that's it, and you get goosebumps when you start telling the stories that you think push you towards your why, then you know you have it. If you start to well up or have an emotional response, you definitely know you're in the ballpark. Then the trick is to find the words. And it's the words, it's the ability to articulate your why that makes it actionable. And so absolutely, the words will evolve, the words will adapt and change, but the meaning cannot. It's the meaning of those words that give you that visceral feeling, those goosebumps that make you well up, whatever the feeling you have is, that's what's paramount. But the words you can tweak and change absolutely for the end of time. I've tweaked my why multiple times over the years, but the meaning of it and the basic direction is still exactly the same. It's like a submarine. When the captain orders the submarine to go north, the submarine doesn't go in a straight line. It kind of goes like this. And your why is the same thing. You need to know the direction it's heading, but it's okay if it goes like this as you're tweaking the words, as long as you're moving in the right direction.
Discovering your why is just the beginning. In order to enjoy all the benefits of having a clearly articulated why, you'll need to have the courage and discipline to use it. Like Thomas Edison said, vision without execution is hallucination. There is an ideal order for implementing your why, though sometimes reality does get in the way, and it all starts with you. Our natural tendency is to start with the tangible. We define our value by what we do, so it takes practice to start with why. Like riding a bicycle, at first we're unsure, unsteady. We're in our heads thinking about all the things we need to do, pedal fast, keep enough speed so we don't fall over. We have to really concentrate. We may even fall over, even scrape our knees, but we get back on the bike and try again, and eventually it becomes natural. Starting with why is no different. At first, it feels awkward. It may not even work, but with practice, it will become so natural that you won't even be able to imagine a time when you couldn't do it, just like riding a bicycle. In time, your why will act as a filter for many of the decisions and choices you make. It becomes a tool to help you find a job or seize an opportunity in which you're more likely to succeed. It removes a lot of the guessing. Here's a metaphor to show you what I mean. It's called the celery test. We're constantly asking people for their advice on what to do or how to do it. It's like going to a dinner party and somebody says, "Do you know what you need? You need M&Ms. We've done so well with M&Ms, you've got to use M&Ms." Somebody else says to us, "Rice milk. In this economy, you have to use rice milk." Someone else says to us, "Kit Kats. You have to use Kit Kats." And somebody else says to you, "It's all about celery." We go to the supermarket with all this good advice from all these smart people with brilliant case studies, and we buy everything. We buy Kit Kats and M&Ms, celery and rice milk. There's a lot of time we spend at the supermarket and a lot of money we spend at the supermarket. And when we get to the checkout lane, we're standing there with all these products in our hands, and no one can see what we believe, because we bought everything. But let's imagine we know our why. Let's imagine our why is to always be healthy and only do things that protect the health of our bodies. Now, which products do we buy? Given all the same advice from all the same smart people, this time we only buy celery and we only buy rice milk. They're the only two that make sense. We spend less time and less money at the supermarket. And when we're standing there in line with only celery and only rice milk, now people can see what we believe. Somebody walking past can say, "Hey, I can see that you're healthy, so am I." You just attracted an opportunity or a referral or a friend simply by saying and doing the things that you believe. And the best part is it's scalable. As soon as I said the why, you knew exactly which products we were going to buy. This means the more you can articulate your why, the more others will know what you stand for and will be able to help you make the right decisions. From now on, you will work to ensure everything you do is a good fit. If you do too many things that aren't a good fit, you will feel uncomfortable and people will feel that you're being inauthentic. On the other hand, when you start with why, your ability to stand out, find support, and work to all your natural strengths will flourish. With practice, you will learn to trust your why. You will eventually start to see your job and the things you do as ways to breathe life into your cause. And the better you get at it, the more you will feel that your life and everything you do has purpose. The best way to implement your why is to work at it slowly. You don't have to do all the tips we suggest. What is important is that you pick up to 3 and commit to practicing and using them now.